less expensive it is to have long-term care insurance.
Yes, that too. Now, at the same time, you have to be healthy as well.
Right.
So people, again, misconception, when you think of life insurance, it's actually morbidity. It's about dying.
Right.
But when you think of long-term care insurance, it's about mobility.
Right.
So if you broke your knee or your hip, or for whatever reason, something broke in your body, that again hinders you from moving around.
That's right.
So that's mobility issue right there. And that is something that long-term care insurance looks at to make sure that, yes, you're able, you could be mobile, you could move around. And then at the same time, they check you cognitively. Are you still up there? Or are you starting to forget things?
Okay. So those are some of the requirements for you to be able to qualify for long-term care.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So a different kind of underwriting.
Okay. Okay. So it's more, are you mobile? Are you able to get around? Because that's what they'll cover.
Right.
Your inability to be self-contained.
Yes, yes, yes. And again, if you have a family history of, for instance, diabetes or stroke, there's a huge likelihood that that mobility will be affected as you get older.
As you get older, okay.
So it's really crucial that individuals really talk to, to someone like me, just for them to know what their options are, what they're looking at. There's so many variables when designing a long-term care insurance. It's not just your health. It's not just your gender.
Right.
There's at least, I could think of 10 different variables that affect a design of a long-term care insurance plan.
Which is why it's so important to sit down with a professional.
Yes.
And get a professional's quote so that you know where you are, because under 40, excuse me, because that's what you said, under 40, it's less, cost prohibitive.
Right.
So if you're under 40, you look into it, because the closer you are to 18 and the more mobile you are and less issues you have with health, the less the cost.
Yes.
So you don't want to wait till you get over 40 and all of the things start setting in.
Yes.
When you're over 40, you start really realizing, your mobility.
Right.
So whether anything's wrong with you or not, right? So the younger you are, the more likely you are to be able to get it at an affordable rate. So and so I think people should make it their business to come in and at least sit down and talk. And find out the cost of it, find out all of the options that are available.
Just to give you an example, I actually have a client. He had long-term care. He called me, and people don't normally call me when it comes to insurance. He was 26 years old at that time, and all he wanted was long-term care insurance. And I asked him why. He actually had a personal experience with his father.
Okay.
Emotional burden and financial burden. And at that point, he said, I don't want my children to experience the same thing. And that's the reason why. So.
Right. Yeah, because like you said, especially a young person, you don't, you're just, in this country, I don't know about other countries because this is the country I live in, but there's so little education in these areas. We don't do enough to educate young people on, wealth building. We don't do enough to educate our young adults on health concerns and, insurances that are needed, or should have at an age when they can get in affordably. By the time a lot of times we get this education, we're a lot older and it's a lot more costly. So.
And at the same time, by that time, you have other expenses as well.
Exactly.
That to add another one would be, oh my goodness.
Right, especially one that's going to be impactful.
Right.
So, I would myself advise that people get in contact with you, a professional who can talk to you, not click on the computer and go to click in, I think this is what category I fit in, and hit send, and now you're paying this premium, and when it comes to your health and something goes wrong, now you don't know what your coverage actually is until you actually need it. So it's best in a case like this to sit down with a human being who is a professional who can kind of guide you through this so that you're properly covered.
See, again, my goal is to make sure that they have the right options.
Right.
The right ones for them. Each person's needs, it's just unique to very different. And I may need little long-term care. I may need a huge one planning. It's just very different for each individual.
Right.
So you brought up a good point that it's crucial that they talk to a person and really guide them as far as long-term care planning.
Right, because we're in that clicking by age right now, where everybody just wants to go to their computer and just Google it. Google long-term health care. Click what company. Click, and then go online, and then they answer 5 questions, and then click, and then buy it, and then you don't know what you just bought.
Exactly.
You might have purchased yourself a mess, or not enough, or too much, or whatever you're doing. So this is an area I would advise you to sit down with a human being and let them and let them go over the information with you. And what better person than Cynthia Tan, who is very knowledgeable, as we can see, and and is giving us all of this information for free, and then to sit down with her and just find out what that means for you and your family.
So very crucial. If you're under 40, definitely need to talk to me or to any other professional regarding long-term care insurance planning.
Right.
Another thing is for women.
Yes.
Okay. Women.
Let's talk about
women. We live longer than men.
Yes,
we live
do.
at least 5 years longer than men. So think about it. We take care of everyone. Everybody. So who's going to take care of us?
Right.
It is very crucial. Long-term care insurance actually is that really hits me right there in my heart, because it is a woman's issue for me to make sure that someone will take care of me if I needed a care.
Exactly. And also because we are natural caregivers.
Right.
If something were to happen before we're at an age where everyone's gone,
Yes.
and something happened, like say let's say you had to have a surgery, and it was, you're not mobile for 3 months or 6 months or whatever the time frame is. Your family is usually accustomed to you supporting them, not them supporting you.
Yes.
So, the kids have their lives, the husband, he's working and doing things. And so when mom is down, everything comes to a screeching halt.
Right.
Until everybody figures it out. And then now we're reassigning jobs because mom is down. When, if you have long-term care, mom can recuperate.
Right.
And the whole family doesn't have to stop and realign until mom is back on her feet. So as mom being the nucleus of most families, you want to protect the nucleus so that the rest of the family can continue moving in a way that they are they normally do.
Right.
Especially over a long period of time.
Exactly. See, if mom is ill, then we need another person basically to take care of mom.
Right.
So mom can heal better, recover better, faster, and be normal again. So when you think of long-term care insurance, we're not looking at lifetime permanent kind of chronic illness.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
It could be some of the people who actually avail of long-term care planning, long-term care insurance. They were chronically ill for 3 years. They got better because of rehab and therapy. Now they're back to work, and their long-term care insurance still keeps on, being paid.
Okay, so then there's another question. So let's say someone is 35 and they have long-term care insurance, and they have to use that insurance for one reason or another, and they continue to pay their premiums. And then they have another incident somewhere further along in their life. Let's say now they're 65 and or 70, and now something happens and they need to use that again. And then they get to 95 and need to use it again. Would you be cut off from long-term care insurance because you've had to use it at more than one interval in your life? Or does it get more expensive? Or how does that work?
Okay, so the design of a long-term care insurance is crucial because one of the questions there is, how long do you want the care to be?
Right.
Now, according to state of California, for anyone who's 65 and over, normally long-term care is around 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So let's just say you're 35 years old and you have long-term care insurance and you opted to, I want to make sure that if I need it, there's 3 years worth of coverage for me. So you're 35 years old, you had an accident, and now you're not mobile and you need another person to take care of you. And that may last probably a year and a half. So 18 months, let's just say 18 months. Then with therapy and rehab, now you're back to work again. The moment you go on claim for long-term care insurance, all the premiums are already waived. So you are not paying for any single premium.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, supposing 18 months later, now you're better, you go back to work, your premium starts kicking in again.
Right.
But because you've only used 18 months and you have another 18 months remaining, at the age of 65, if you need 6 months, then you have another year.
Right.
To basically use for long-term care. So when you design a long-term care insurance, it boils down to how long do you want the care to be?
Okay.
Right now for state of California, the maximum that you could get now is 10 years.
Right.
So if you want it for 10 years, then you are assured that, for 10 years worth of care, you have that long-term care insurance paying that caregiver, paying that nursing facility.
For 10 years.
For 10 years.
So total of all incidents involved, you have
Yes.
10 years. Okay. That explains it. Because I was wondering, because, like there's some insurance policies that, you become high risk.
No.
We're not taking care of you anymore because you have too many accidents.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Like with car insurance.
I know.
You have you start mounting up, and they're like, no.
Not for long-term care insurance.
Right.
Once you applied for it and you were healthy, and we don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. We don't know what's
Right.
going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
So any kind of accident that you have and you avail of long-term care insurance, then that will be continuous as long as you've used up to, for instance, 10 years or 5 years or whatever you chose.
Whatever you chose. Okay, and that's another conversation
Right.
that you need to have with a human being.
Yes.
So you can decide at your age, whatever that age is, what makes sense for you.
Right.
Right.
Another one is how much benefit do you want per day? So right now it's roughly $260 per day. Some people opt for, I just want $100 per day because I have extra funds. Or I want $260 with the inflation factor on there. So
Right.
there's so many ways to actually design a long-term care insurance plan. And again, it's best to talk to someone like me just to make sure that I could guide you to the right option and explain to you what the different perks
Right.
and advantages that you're going to get when you do buy long-term care insurance.
Right. Now, another question that comes to mind is that when you have long-term care insurance, well, it's not really a question, it's more
Okay.
of a statement, is that it sounds to me like when you come in and meet with you, when I would come in to meet with you and sit down and go over, it's kind of like a reality check.
Yes.
It's a reality
Yes.
check. And then it also is a peace of mind because once you know how they say, once you hear information, you're now responsible for what you know.
Right.
So at this point, like you said, you're not here to make anybody feel nervous or, worried, but it does add that element of what if. So now that you've been exposed to what long-term care is, right, then you need to do something about it so that it's not something pressing in the back of your mind where it's like this ball waiting to drop.
Right.
It's more of a, let me go in, let me talk to Cynthia, let me find out exactly what my needs are, what I can afford to do, and at my age, what would be the best options for me so that I can make an educated decision.
You're absolutely right. It's educated decision after you've received the knowledge.
Right.
Because at this particular point, it's either you take an action on it or you just choose not to do it.
Right. But it becomes this ball in the back of your head that you're waiting for the shoe to drop, because, at some point between now and 95, at some point you may need that type of care.
Right.
You hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Right. So think about it. Once you hit the age of 65, there's actually a 70% chance. That's huge. 70% chance that you will avail of long-term care.
For some period of time.
For some period of time. So if you plan on, and 65 is just what? Typical retirement age.
Right.
So once you hit that, there's a likelihood you need long-term care. Now, do you have a plan for it?
Right.
If you don't have a plan for it and you have assets, then those assets will be used up first before Medi-Cal kicks in.
That's right. So there goes your retirement. There There goes the vacation,
traveling.
the travel.
It's all gone. It's all gone. And roughly $90,000 per year right now for long-term care. Wow. Who has extra $90,000 stashed in their bank right now?
That they want to put towards that.
Yes.
They might have it, but why spend it there?